Welcome back in the series where we are creating a secure chat application with Go and Flutter. So in this video, I decided to add both project structure and writing our first API endpoint in one video, but I found out that it's making it very long, so I decided to separate it. So in this video, we are going to write our first endpoint, and to do that, we'll be using some packaging, and that package is going to be a HTTP router package by Golang on GitHub. So we'll be using that to write our first Go API endpoint. So let's get straight and jump into the code where we start exploring the code by itself. Thank you. Okay, so let's get our first dependency that we are going to use. Over here, we are going to use a dependency that is known as what we can be using for our routing system that is going to different endpoints. We are going to use an HTTP developed by Julian Schmidt. So that is named Julian Schmidt, and how to get it, we will use the Go itself to do that. So we have Go, then we use the command get. So Go get, and we type the name of the thing as the package. So you can see the model of this one, and here it's known as github.com/Julian Schmidt HTTP router. So this one. So what we need to do is just press enter, and the Go itself will go and download and add it over there. So you can see we are having it right here. So added to our required package. And when we do this, we're going to create the go.sound, and this will just have the dependency. So you go to our deck in order to create our first endpoint. In Go, you need to have your main package and also the main function in it. So in this API, I'm going to create my main file over here. So main.go. So Go is having this, and that in the file extension at .go. I'll just do this. And when you do this, and if you don't have Go installed, if you don't have Go, you need to install the Go extension over here. So you just come here and you type Go, and you type Go, going to pop up. I've already installed it. So this one from the Go team, you can install it. Other ones are bonus, but the main thing that will help in this one, and you cannot go the download the Go draft tag. It's very, very important. So that is it. Let's get back to it, and let me make my phone very big so that it can be seen. So instead of the 14, I'll go by 18. Very big. And here we are going to have the package to be main, or because Go compiler look for the main package and not for the main function in order to know what the starting point of our Go application. So I'll clear off the terminal for now, and I will just to run the main function. You just need to use the keyword func, and I will just say main like this one. And after this, I'll open the. Be very careful. Go do not accept you having the calibration for new line. You need to be close to this one. So it's an error in Go to have it in the left line. So that's it. And before we get everything started. Now, in every API development, we have version for it. So we are going to define our version, and I will just have a to be a global variable over here, and I'll call it version. And that is going to be version 1.0.0. That is going to be our version for now. For now, we have defined, but it's not true. So I'm going to have two configurations. That is going to store our environment, either staging, development, or in production, and also the port that we are going to run them on. So, what I will do is I'll define a type. So the type is like different type, like the inbuilt one, like integer and those things. But you cannot go define your own type. So each own type can be a structure that you want, which takes the account of the inbuilt one, and for you to construct your own type that you want. So here, my type that I want, I'm going to have it to be config, which is short for configuration, and it's going to be extract, like a structure. And over there, I'm going to have, for now, other thing will come, but for now, I'm going to have the port in which our whatever is going to run on, or something like a localhost colon, let's say 4080 or something like that, and that is going to be an integer over there. So it's going to be an integer, and also I'll have the environment, or env, and that is going to be a string like this one. And after that, I'm going to define an initial for everything that is going to be what our application is going to be on. So I'll just create another type, and I'll call that type API. So we are going to build an API over here. So I'll just call it class, and the first one is going to take the config. So I'll just say config. This config is this config that we are having, and I will name it the name config. So this config represents the name over here, and this one is the variable name that I need for it. So I have the variable name to be config, and it type to be also config, like that one. And I'm going to have a logger. So I'm going to have a logger that in the name, and it's going to be a pointer from the log, and going to import it dot logger, like that over there. So how am I going to define my various how am I going to get this variable? So what I want to do is, when you are running your Go, I want you to find it like a flag to the terminal, so that the flag, so that you can make use of this one. You can change it whenever you want, not to come back to the code and change it. So you set a default one, although, but you can change it from your terminal by running something like, when you are to run the application, let's wait for the terminal to initiate. Or when you are to run the application, let me enlarge that one. So when you are to run the application, you can do something like go, then I'll point to where the main is, then go emd slash API, and in the main package and the main function is there, I can ignore the file, and now I can have hyphen port like this one, and get it to be equal to anything, or like 5,000 or something, but I'll have a default one. So for you to be able to do this, then I need to get those variables. So I'll have a var keyword. I will define a variable, and I will call it EFG, that is short for config, which is configuration for this one. And the type is going to be the config over here. It's going to be config over here. And now what I can do is I'm going to get the different variable over there. Or I'm going to use the flag over there, and you need to import it over here back. So if you import something and you don't use it, it will go an error in Go. So I'll have flag dot, then I'll get a int var. I'll get an integer variable because our port is the type of integer. So what integer do you want? And you can see it takes the character. The character is the pointer. So if I want to point to the config, what I need to do is to use the this 9. That we sometimes use it in place of end, and call the efgen dot port like that. So this one efgen dot port, and then I'll give the name. So the name is going to be port, so that you can use that to access in the terminal as I said. And I'll give an initial value. So each value is going to be an integer, and that is going to be, hope I gave a thing for it. That is going to be 4000, and also the usage, that is API ever port. So that is going to be the name of it, API ever port. And now I'm going to get the variable for flag dot, and that you can imagine here, you will get a string variable. So string var, and I'm going to get that to the config efgen, which is this one type, and I've used dot, I'll have attached to the environment, and I'll call it env, or you can type -env, and now the environment that we are doing is the development environment. Go with the string, and what they use, we are going to have 3 different environments. That is, we have development, and I'll use this line. We have staging, and we have production. So, and to let this path, what I will do is I will just use flag dot path, mean that everything is set now, and I can go ahead and create my application. So here I need to have a logger. Before I can pack the config, I need to get a logger. So I'll create a variable and initiate it right away. So I'll get the logger and use the column equal to sign to get it and initiate it also. So I'll just say log dot new. So I'll get log dot new, and I'll just say on dot then std out like this. And the next one, I will remain it as empty string, and its flag is going to be, I will get the date and so I go log dot l date and open, and I'll have log dot l time like that one. Go. I'll create the API like that one, and that is going to be for the API, this one that I create, extract type that I created, and I'm going to have this to be, I'm going to just get those values, and the third one is the configuration is going to be the efgen, because that is what we have get the value, and the next one is going to be the logger, and that is going to be the logger that we get over here. So now we have the API. What the API going to do? The API is just going to do only one thing. We are going to start our server from now. So I will just get another variable called remaining ever, and are going to be HTTP, or we are going to use HTTP package, and we are going to use HTTP dot dev so we are going to use HTTP server over here, and for that it takes address and also a handler and many more. So for now we are going to take only two, that is the server and the one for the address ADDR. So when you have over it, you know it can extract. So in order to get extract, you use that one. So address, and we have the address, and to get the address, what we can do is we are going to get it the address. So we use fmt package, and we use the formatting for f print, and we get a we use dot, and I'll give a percentage and d, and now I'll get kefg dot port ID and multi-value value of type int um, okay, so it's not there, but print f rather, so I need to use that one, not the other one. So I'll use that one, and that column means whatever address that is the code that we are running column, and the port that will be for the default is 4000 over there. And also we are going to have our handler. So the handler is going to be, we have not created that already, and that is going to be our API dot route. So I'll get the API dot route over here, and that is where our route file will be coming in. Or you have these two errors. So let's bring up the then go and create the route file over there. And you can see the HTTP handler require that is an HTTP handler file. So let's take that in mind when we go out and create that file, then we'll see how it goes. So I'll just say well, I'll just use the srv dot listen and save function that it returns an error. I'll store the error in a variable called this variable, and I'll use logger.filter to log any error. So any error that will happen. So now the only thing left for us to cover is this route. So I'll go to my API folder where the name is and create a file. So I'll create a file and call it route.go. So route.go, and that is also going to have a package name. So I'll have a package name, and after the package name, then I'm going to create the function. So func, and this is going to be a method on this track. That is one thing I love about Go. Defining your type, you can have different methods also that will be on it. Not only values like this that you can have a full function having a method. That is in other you have it today and group in which we have property and method can do thing. So this one I'll have the method and I'll call it API, and that is going to be a pointer to an already initiated one. So this one that I'm going to use, the one that I've get over here to access it, so going to be a pointer of that API, and the name of it is going to be route, and this route is not going to take any parameter, but it's going to return something. What is going to return? So I'm going to accept a pointer to, I'm going to accept a pointer to a go router dot router. We go router dot router, and I'm going to have a variable and I'll assign. So now let me explain that one. I've done it twice. If you are setting a variable and you are initiating it with a value directly after setting the variable, we use the column and equal to sign. We go. That is what we use. Take column and equal to sign. That means I'm setting a variable and I want to initiate it with a value right away. So I'll just use the HTTP router package dot new. I'll get a new router, and this router I'm going to have some part of it, and I'll use what we call handle function. We are going to handle a function. We are going to get different functions that we are going to have it. So I will just say HTTP. I'll use the HTTP package and define the method. We have get method, we have put method, we have delete method, put, and others. So here I'm going to use the method get, and I will explain it what the get and other methods are doing. And after this, then you give the path. So make sure the path starts with this, and I'll just say user slash create. So you have a one that is going to create a user or register an account, something like that. And now I will have this API and I'll call the create user function. But the function doesn't exist. And that one, this go is returning something. So I need to return. What am I returning? I'm going to return the router over here. Over here, you see that the error that we're having over here is gone. So what I need to do is to save this one, and now let's try this one to make it go. So I'll come back to the API and create another file called user.go, and user.go I'll have that is going to have the same package name as the name. So all the items in this folder, that in the API folder, is going to have package name. So I'll get a func and I'll have the name of the function. I'll get the name of the function, and the name of the function is going to be create user. So the create user function, and it's going to take two different variables. That is one which is going to be the HTTP dot response writer. So I'll just do response writer, and also an R which is a pointer to the request that the user has requested. So HTTP dot request by this one, and it's not going to return anything. Over here, what I will do is I will use the fmt package to fprint something out. So to fprint, it requires an IO writer, and that is going to be the response writer. And what I will write is just hello world, and I will add it for creating new user like this one. So And now we still have an error. Why? Because this API doesn't know it. So to make it known, then we are going to make this function to be a method of that. And that is going to be an API and a pointer to the API function, like this one. So in this, everything is set, and now we can run our server and test everything out. And before we test everything out, I'm going to use what we call Insomnia in the testing. So go to your favorite browser and click and search for Insomnia. So Insomnia API. So you click on the API one and you have the Insomnia REST, and just click on it, and you can download it desktop for any operating system that you are on. I've already downloaded it, and I check that it takes 1 2 hours. Start it, and go from here. Start it. If you already have Postman, you can use the Postman also. If you already have Postman, there is no need for you to re-download it. When I'm already have Postman, but I love to work with it a lot. So over here, I will have a new HTTP request, and now I'm going to have HTTP colon localhost. So that is what you need to mention. Column the port that you get, that is 4000, the default one that we get, slash, then our user like the create function. Okay, the create, and the method we are going to have is the get method, because that is what we get for the router, that is the method get, and this is the URL you get like this. So now let me run it, and I won't put any flag over there so that you have a default value out there. So sorry, you need to bring the keyword run. So go run, bring this one. Let's wait for it to compile, and think it's running, but there is something that we need to do over here. So before we log any error, then I'm going to print this one. So I'll use after electing, before electing, I'll use fmt package to print something. So I'll just say starting, and I'll have percentage f, and server. I'll just say server on, and I'll have percentage d, and we are going to have this one percentage d, and the first one is going to be fgen.environment. The next one is going to be fgen.port, like this one, and I'll save it, or I'll clear off from here, cancel the server, and rerun it again so that we can get a message. Okay, well, I think let's go into this and now test things out. And when we click here, then we are having hello world creating new user from the function that we create. So we have successfully created our first endpoint with this code, and let me go ahead and explain everything to you again. So this is the package, these are the imports. So you make use of this function later, this version later, not now. And we get our configuration, which now have only two, that is the port and the environment, or that is the development server and so on. And we get our API configuration, which will also have the configuration data, and also a logger that is going to log any error out. And we get our flag variable out here. So the port is having an initial value of 4,000, and the environment is having a development environment. And we use this file to set everything up and running. And we have this logger to log all whatever will happen at the time and those things, the time and the date. And we set those values to the API, we get it to API variable. And we set up our address and we start printing something out. We get a result of the print s print s or something. And what we did over here to get the error and we listen to the port or anything and share that. If there is any error, then we log it at the filter. So we'll come back and make cleanup of this one. So for now, our API is up and running. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned as we get to the next tutorial. We'll meet again. Subscribe, and if you have any question, you can leave it in the comments and get everything up and running.